Alright everyone, welcome back to our Final Fantasy VI playthrough Deathless Run. This is part number 13. Alright, we picked up, last we left off, we were in the town of Themasia, right? And at the very end of the last part, we noticed that something was set on fire. Relm was caught in a fiery house. And we saved outside the town without saving her. Well, we figured it's probably about time to go back in and do just that. So this is kind of funny, right? You go back in there, you try to save and take a nap in the house, they're going to go, fire! A lot of people will do that here, rightfully so. You should kind of know better, right? Okay, so there's the house. It's on fire, right? That's where Relm is in, and Strago is right there. Yep, we know Relm's inside. Thanks. Didn't know that. And, whoa! That fire is clearly grown out of control. So what's going to happen? No fire stations, no fire hoses. What are you doing? Aha! Strago told a little fib. Said he didn't know anything about magic or espers. So the truth comes out. Well, hopefully this works, but something tells me it probably won't. Now, interestingly enough, so the mayor knows about this. Everyone in the town is going to come forward to try to put the fire in this house out. Even the old ladies. Is it going to work? I think you know the answer already. Especially if you're a pro at this game. One more shot. And... yeah, that didn't work. Thanks, Strago. Couldn't figure that out. Fire rods, that's why. Well, I think it's about time to go in there and try to rescue Relm. What do you think? Yeah, I think it's about that time. Come on, let's get in there. Alright, in the house. And, ooh, fiery blaze. Nice use of the graphics here on a 16-bit system. Alright, now we head on in, and here's the whole premise of this part of the game here. So you're in a fiery house. You're going to have flames running around like random enemies here. And you can actually dodge them. You can run past them and not have random encounters. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done in some of these situations because they are very narrow, tight corridors, and you want to be sure to fight the ones that you have to. They're honestly, the enemies aren't that tough, but there can be quite a few of them if you're not careful. So make sure you have the right relics equipped, the right espers equipped, things like that. Try to put all of your team members in the back row because a lot of these enemies here will use physical attacks. And obviously, if they're in the back row, that's going to half the damage they receive. Not to mention, Terra and Locke already have weapons that, enable you to put them in the back row and take less damage. All right, so we're going to be fighting balloon fire enemies here, and as you might expect, they are weak to both Ice and Strago's special attack. Strago, by the way, has a special attack called the Lure, right? And lures are basically enemy skills that you can learn throughout the course of the game. Right now, Strago only has one lure that's called Aqua Lure, or Aqua Lure, I guess. And that obviously, taking a look at it, it can be used to get rid of fire enemies. And it makes sense, right? Fire, or water takes care of fire. Alright, so at this point, we're just going to put, any Esper on Strago to get him powered up and beefed up and learn some spells here. Because although his lures are very nice, it's also nice to have actual curing spells, magic, and attack spells too. So we'll put the relevant stuff on, and unfortunately we couldn't get past that little fireball balloon here. Ooh, we got 6 of them. Pretty overwhelming, right? Well, check this out. Remember, Locke does know Ice 2. So we're going to use Ice 2 on all these enemies here. Oh, excuse me, I said Aqua Lure. Aqua Rake is what Strago has. Pretty much do the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, boom. 700 damage apiece, gone, all in one shot. Ice 2 is incredible. All the 2-level spells are incredible at this point in the game, so if you don't have anybody with the 2-level spells, you really should consider getting them at this point. Alright, another tight corridor. We're going to see if we can move past the fireballs, and ooh, we got lucky there. Did a little Houdini hocus pocus. Got one left. We couldn't get past that one. Now, we can fight these ones, and I think we will. Here's Strago's Aqua Rake. Check this in action here. It's an enemy skill, of course. And it really works the same way as Ice 2. Animation's a little bit faster and does significantly more damage. And I think that's mainly because Strago has a higher magic spell, or a higher magic level for that matter. There's 2 doors here. Don't take the one on the left we just passed. That will bring out fireballs that you cannot avoid. You have to fight them. Alright, we got a fire rod here. The fire rod is going to cast fire 2 one time, and then the rod will break. So that's kind of useful to have, but don't use it here, obviously. Do use this one. This is the ice rod. The ice rod will cast ice 2 once at full max power, and then break. So that's important to know, right? Ice 2 at full max power. Well, when you go against certain foes, like this thing, which is the boss, and it's a fire enemy, I think this might be a good time to use the ice rod, right? So Flame Eater has 8,400 HP, one of the highest HP totals for any boss we've faced up to this point. In fact, it probably is the highest. So check this out. Aqua Rake, Ice 2, very relevant, useful spells to use at this point, mainly because it gets rid of its front line of defense. Once that's done, you can use the Ice Rod, and check this out. The boss had, what, 8,400 HP if I'm not mistaken, right? Ice Rod, Ice 2, maxed out. Watch the damage here. Whoa! 4,200 damage! Yeah, that's like half of his life gone in one shot, so thank you very much, Ice Rod. And after a few more of those attacks there, I think we are basically at, what, 65-75% HP gone already. Now yeah, obviously this is a fire enemy, and he can use level 2 spells as well, and clearly they're going to be fire-based spells. So if you have anything, any kind of weapons that will induce fire attacks, clearly don't use them. If you have any armor that can stop fire, which I don't think you do at this point in the game, try to equip it. Ooh, Strago went down here. That's obviously not a good thing. So if he goes down, bring him back as quick as you can. Thankfully, Terra knows life, and that makes it quick and painless. Well, it wasn't so painless for Strago, but you know what I mean. Alright, now Flame Eater is casting Safe. So there's two different types of spells that most people can cast at low life. There's Safe, and there is Protect. So Safe is going to stop magic-based attacks, or at least cut them in half. Whereas Protect, I believe, is going to stop, what, physical attacks. And here we go. Gone. Thankfully, Ice 2, that Ice Rod, made this much, much easier and simpler than it needed to be. So you can choose not to use it if you don't want to, but that could give you a much harder time than necessary. So I think it was a very efficient use of our resources to just use the Ice Rod there. Because really, I tend not to use rods really at any point in the game unless it's absolutely necessary and critical. And I think that was a good juncture and good point to use it. And whoa, we see Relm is in trouble, and Interceptor is trying to help us out here. Well, I think we should go and probably help him too. What do you think? Yeah, it sounds like a good strategy. Whoa, I think the house is collapsing. And yep, it sure is collapsing. So much so that we're just going to speed right through it because I don't want to see the painful aftermath. Whoa, thank you, Shadow. Alright, so Shadow's going to save us all. And we get out of there. And this is a pretty long cutscene, obviously, which is why we're speeding through it here. So basically, at this point, Strago tells us that, yep, you caught me in a lie. Everyone in this town understands magic, right? So, long story short, they know a lot more than they were letting on. Relm is actually pretty good too, although we haven't really learned a whole heck of a lot about her, except what I've told you about the sketch skill. And here we see that Strago and Interceptor are also going to go out to look for these espers that we were talking about in this cutscene, but they're going to do it in their own special way. Alright, so Strago leaves the party. We are now down to Terra, Locke, and Strago. Everything looks good to go here. Obviously, take a moment to go into the item shops, weapon shops, equip what you need. If you still need to buy something, this is a good opportunity to do it, because you will be going out into the wild again and hunting these, well, not really hunting the espers, but trying to locate them. So buy things that you might be needing. We're actually going to head over to the weapon shop in just a second, and we're going to buy a couple weapons that we neglected to buy because we really didn't need them without having certain characters here. Go ahead and equip what you need. I think we should pretty much be good to go after we do one final quick check here. And it looks like we are good. Let's head over left. And right here in the weapon shop, we are going to buy a couple things. We're going to buy, scroll down past the rods. And we're going to buy a stout spear, even though Edgar and Mog is not in our party. We're going to buy darts too, also. So darts are an upgrade from what Setzer is currently using with cards. So both of those weapons will do significantly more damage than their default base weapons. But even though they're not in our party, it makes sense to buy them because we've got the GP. Everything else looks to be in pretty good order. We will buy a warp stone, which basically, warp is a spell that will get you out of any dungeon instantaneously. So if you get in a pinch and you're low on resources, that warp stone is a good thing to have. It's like a get out of jail free card, basically. Everything else looks like we're pretty good on. We're just going to sell any kind of items and relics that we don't need, anything that's considerably worthless. So we'll take care of that right now. Get rid of our low-end resources that we definitely don't want, don't need. Cotton robes, yeah, get rid of some of that crapola. Probably a few more things. Bard's hat we don't need. You could probably get rid of, yeah, plume hat, mithril shield. There's a lot of stuff that we obviously clearly don't need. And even still, look at that. Nearly 27,000 GP. We're doing pretty good on stuff right now. But I think after cleaning house, we're pretty much good to go. So we're going to leave the town of Themasia. And we're going to head off to the west, like they were suggesting. And we're going to hunt for these missing espers that ran out of that sealed esper gate. And see if we can find them and make them reason with us. And hopefully bring them back and end this little war here. And we got a couple of these enemies here we've seen before. And all of my characters are currently in the back row. So physical damage ain't going to do too much. But magic obviously will. So this is where Terra can show her stuff with her morph. Or you can also break out other kinds of magic spells. And that was good. We took that thing down. That thing's got a thick skin. Physical attacks don't work really well on it. Yeah, that's kind of pointless. Gotta love stealing, right? It's great when it works. Didn't work that time. And we're pretty good here. So continuing on to the westward side of the mountains. Make sure we got the right relics equipped. Earrings really aren't going to help that much because Strago doesn't really know any magic aside from the base level fire, ice, and bolt spells. So could probably be better used elsewhere. We'll put the Cure Ring on, which will automatically assign the spell Regen, which will recover health over time. And here's our cave. We're going to walk in there. And we're going to walk around for a little bit and find a few chests, open a few things. Heal Rod, that will cast Cure, or Cure 2, I believe, which will significantly restore some health if we need it. Now, there are some additional pathways that you could go here to get some additional chests. They're not really necessary here. Nothing you really haven't seen before or really need. So we're going to take the straight path all the way to the end of the cave here, and then we will finally get to these espers and see what the next part of the story has for us. Alright, continuing on in this cave, you can head off to the left if you like. There's really no good reason to go out there. Yes, there's a chest you can get, but once again, it's nothing that you can't do without. So we're just going to go ahead and ignore it for the time being, and we're going to continue over to the far right and take this exit and get out of this section of the cave and continue to move on. And I always hate back attacks. I mean, you're kind of forced to make a choice. They're going to take tough damage. You can fight them if you want, or you can just leave. We're choosing to leave. It's not a big deal. Do what you want. Ooh, I saw someone out of the corner of my eye there. Was that Relm? Well, moving around, and if you got a sharp eye, you'll notice, yes, that was in fact Relm down there. What is she doing, being a naughty little girl? Alright, well, we're going to move on, continue on, and now, instead of a back attack, we get a side attack here, so damage is basically doubled. I love it. We're going to go ahead and take these enemies out quickly and painfully. Let's see what kind of damage the Aqua Ray can do in a side attack. Not too much. It's more or less for physical attacks. So this thing should go down fairly easily, and sure enough it does. That's really good damage for level 2 magic. Walk, Learn Demi. So that's a spell that will cut the enemy's HP in half. Whoop, caught ya. So cut the enemy's HP in half, right? Really nice. But the fact is, with that particular spell, it's hit or miss. 50% chance of hitting. This is critical. We got a big fight coming up. Make sure everyone in your party's in the back row. You'll see why. Think of what happened in the past. What boss have we faced in the past that required us to have our entire party in the back row? Anything come to mind? If nothing's popping up, it will become very evident very soon. Yep, that was a good guess. That stupid, ugly, purple-looking octopus thing. Octros, or not Octros, Ultros. It's easy to call him Octros when he's an octopus, right? Ultros is back. This would be encounter number 3. You think he would get the hint after so many times of getting crushed? Well, apparently not. Because here he is. Fight with Ultros. This is part number 3. Yeah, I'm so sure you were thinking about me. Alright, so, ooh, check that out. 22,000 HP. Now, he still has the same weakness as always, Bolt and Fire. Man, that's a lot of health. So, there's a couple ways you can take this fight on. You can fight him the usual way, hit him hard, hit him fast. But eventually, halfway through this fight, there's going to be something different about it that can end the fight rather quickly if you're lucky. So obviously, continue to do the max damage that you possibly can. Ultros will move closer to you and move further away from you throughout the course of the fight. That's why you want to have your entire party in the back row. That tentacle attack can cause massive damage and put your party down more than 50% if you don't have them in the back row. Even with max armor like gold armor, power sash, Gaia gear, all that stuff, he still does significantly awful damage. And that stone attack sucks. If I'm not mistaken, it will confuse the character that it hits, if it hits. And thankfully it missed there, or it could have been bad news for us. So we're going to continue to hit hard, just like we've been doing from the very start. This could be a pretty tedious and lengthy battle up front, because, like I said, ooh, this gets interesting. Ultros form has changed, try elemental attack. So what does this mean? So you're going to see when we try to use our traditional fire and bolt-based attacks, anything that we hit him with, especially the mid-level, he's going to counter it with a level 3 base spell. So what does that mean? If you hit him with Fire 2, there's a chance that he will retort with Fire 3. If you hit him with Bolt 2, well, check this out. Ouch. Yeah, that's a one-shot, absolutely. Unless you've done some power leveling, that will outright kill one character. So you got to make sure, be smart about it. Certainly don't attack with those particular spells. Stick to physical attacks if you can. This is a good time to break out your Genji Glove with those double attacks. That's probably what I would do in this case. Yeah, once again, you can see what's about to happen here. We hit him with Fire 2, and ouch, Fire 3 outright kills Terra, and that's not good considering that she is our only life user. So we have to burn a Phoenix down to bring her back. And again, the problem with Phoenix downs is that when they come back, they're in critical health. Never a good thing, right? So Octros is hitting us pretty hard, and we're lucky that Locke didn't go down there. Very fortunate that Locke had enough HP to sustain that. So obviously we need to get our health levels back up to a sustainable point where we can feasibly win this battle, or at least get to the next point in the battle. And what do I mean by that? Well, you're about to see very shortly here. So we get our characters up to a decent point here, and that was actually pretty good. Strago hit him with a Fire Rod, and Fire 2 landed, but it was not countered, and presumably because we did enough damage to, I guess, end the fight here. And obviously here comes Relm, and interesting little cutscene happening here. Basically, the gist of this is that we're going to get Ultros to be convinced to let the picture get drawn by Relm, and obviously we know that Relm's sketch ability is pretty dang good at this point. So, in order to win this fight, all you gotta do is keep using sketch until it hits. Very simple. Now, the only problem is it's not necessarily gonna hit the first time. Sometimes it does, which is awesome. Oftentimes it will miss. So this is where you gotta play very safe and just focus on curing. Because all it takes is one instance of the sketch attack to hit, and the match is over here. So we're just going to keep on healing. Ooh, that's nasty right there. Obviously a very good thing all of our characters are in the back row here. Had they been in the front, that could have been a game over with just Relm left alive. Yeah, not a good thing. So we're going to go ahead and let this battle play out in rage speed once again, because it's going to take quite a bit, unfortunately, because the sketch skill keeps missing until right there. Tentacle. So yeah, nice thing about sketch, even though sometimes it's not always a huge attack, it's the same attack that that particular character might use. So we end up doing away with Ultros for the third time, and I'm hoping and praying we don't have another one. Alright, so yeah, Relm's kind of showing off. Yeah, you're awesome, right? Well, even though you are pretty cool and cute and sweet and everything, yeah, just pipe down, keep it to yourself. Alright, so Relm's going to tag along with us for a little bit into the next part of this here. So we're going to go ahead and make sure she's properly equipped. Make sure that we get the darkness ailment off of Terra. And let's see what we got here. It was pretty decent. We got some good stuff on her. It's not the best of equipment, but it'll do for now. And we're going to put Relm in the back row. Once again, Relm's best assets are not her physical attacks. It's her sketch, of course. So everything looks to be in good order. Going to go ahead and move on through the cave. And we're pretty close to the end here. We have a save point. You can go ahead and save if you want to. We're not going to do that, but we are going to take advantage of the tent here. We're going to use that opportunity to heal ourselves and get all of our MP, magic points, back, because we did use quite a bit of it in those last couple fights. So we got a couple more random fights we're going to plow through here, and then we should get to the end of this cave. And once that's completed, we're going to have a very, very long cutscene coming up. I honestly lost track of how long that cutscene is, and because it's so long, we're going to burn through it in 6 times the speed that it would normally take here. So we're going to go ahead and watch a couple more fights here with the lures and the magic and all that lovely stuff, taking these enemies out here. Here's the sketch attack. Blaster. That blaster is usually enough to kill most enemies here. Not in this case, though, because it outright missed. Sneeze. You will see the sneeze attack come up with a couple enemies later in the game here, but you can kind of see how it works. Anybody that the sneeze hits, that character is temporarily blown out of the fight, and they cannot be called back into action here. So that's kind of bad when it hits. The only good news is that if the rest of the party goes down, the people who were sneezed away can still retreat with no penalty here. So that can be a good thing, but obviously it's not good for us overall. Alright, so we end up falling through a hole. Terra is going to move herself and the party straight up north. We got one more little cave section to snark along through here, if that's really a word, which I don't think it is. Now, I will point out that with this particular fight here, and maybe some future ones that we might see, there are a couple enemies that have the opportunity to use an attack or a spell called White Wind. That is an enemy skill which is considered blue magic that Strago can learn for a future lore. And White Wind is actually really nice because it's a healing spell. And unfortunately, it's not going to get cast in this battle here, so you may need to consider coming back to this area later, or you could continue to farm enemies here until the White Wind spell is cast. As you're about to see here, I'm not exactly that patient, so we're just going to burn through this, and we'll probably come back at a later time to get the White Wind spell before continuing on to the next part of the game here. So we're just going to whack these things, take them out quickly, and then we will basically be at the end of this cavern, this cave here, and hopefully we find the Espers. I'm pretty sure that we will. Man, that fire rod is really useful from Strago. You wouldn't think that that is, but does some pretty decent damage in the hands of somebody who has a good magic attack stat. And clearly Strago is one of the best, if not the best. All right, here we go. We have now encountered the first of our Espers here. Yes, Relm, they are the Espers. Now, this is a very, very, very long cutscene that we are about to endure here, and I'm not going to trouble us with the entire thing, but basically, if you want a brief little synopsis, all of the Espers fled here, right, after they bolted through the cave. And Yura, I believe it's Yura, yes, is the leader of all these Espers that bolted out of the gate. Yura senses some sort of connection with Terra, and they have a deep, long, intimate conversation here, and they all determine that, yes, we are friends, blah, 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 blah. Let's go ahead and make up and work together to take down Emperor and Kefka here. Alright, so we're now back in the town of Themasia here in another nice, long, lengthy cutscene with General Leo. Seems like all the loose ends have been tied up, haven't they? Nope. Now, how in the world did Kefka get here? Wasn't he locked up in jail? Well, apparently, not anymore. Somehow, some way he got out. Was he let free? Did he do his time? Or were they just playing us for fools this whole time? Take your guess, take your pick. And they're basically trashing this entire town, and ooh, Kefka and Leo have officially fallen out, so Kefka has really gone insane, just in case you didn't think he had already. Now we get temporarily we get to use the character Leo. Leo is one of the strongest characters in the entire game, even if you only use him for a short while. Alright, so the whole purpose of this next encounter here is to fight Kefka one-on-one here, right? I am going to let this go ahead and play out. So, this is not really a boss fight, but we're going to call it one because it's freaking Kefka, right? So he's got 5,000 HP, he really doesn't have a weakness here. Even if he did, it's pretty inconsequential because Leo there's only 2 real kind of attacks you can do here. He has his main attack, and then he has the shock special skill. So, interesting thing about Leo here, he is equipped with a relic that allows him to attack 4 separate times and deal significant damage there. Now, if you don't want to do that, we're going to look at the shock spell, or the shock ability. Check this out. It's a pretty decent 16-bit animation for, what, 1,400 damage? Pretty dang good for this point in the game. And considering that Kefka only has 5,000 HP, what, 3 or 4 of those should be enough to do him in, right? So just keep shocking him, And he will go down rather quickly. Kefka's officially got level 3 magic now with all of those Espers and Magicite that he's got in his possession. Doesn't really matter. You just keep hitting him hard. Kefka will go down. I think one more ought to do it here. There he goes. Consummate soldier. Sure is. Alright, and right around here, there's Gestal. We're going to go ahead and let this play extremely fast because this is an insanely long cutscene here. And as I've said many times, yikes. Well, it just got interrupted here by an unfortunate death. So it looks like Leo kicked the bucket. Kefka is getting madder and madder and more insane by the minute here. And now all of the Espers have been called back to the Esper Cave here. They're all getting called to Themasia here. And they're all going to try to fight and encounter Kefka one-on-one or in a battle royale, so to speak. They're going to use the worst possible spells they can possibly think of. And whoop! Looks like you've been turned into Magicite. Yikes. Kefka is downright crazy, that's for sure. And he has more Magicite in his possession than we do right now. I think that's fair to say. So really it's a race for power at this point. And as you can tell by the story here, if you're paying attention, clearly the Emperor was playing us like a fiddle and they had no intentions of locking away Kefka and executing him. They did that for a specific reason. And now we're going to have to continue on with the knowledge that, yeah, this was never a good thing. So at this point, we're kind of Maroon Miranda'd here, right? Whatever you want to call it. We have an option to continue on with the next part of the story. Before we do that, we're going to go ahead and make sure we have all the right stuff equipped. Espers, equipment. Again, we've still got a decent amount of money, so take a moment to buy what you need. When you feel like you're good to go ahead and get back into your airship, and we will continue on. And what do we got here? The Empire's out to the sealed gate. Yep, we know that their ultimate plan is to go through that gate and take every single Esper and all of the power contained within. And this just confirms it with this cutscene right here. So we're going to go ahead and ramp it up the rage speed once again, because this is another very long, lengthy cutscene. As much as I'd love to watch it at regular speed, as we all know, the whole point of this video is to prove that we can beat the game without dying once. And here we are. This is essentially the end of the first half of this game here. Once we get to where those two are standing and we can conquer, hopefully, that'll be the end of it. So right about now, find the floating continent. Once we go to the floating continent, that's going to be, as I said, the checkpoint for the halfway point in the game. We're not quite ready to go there yet. So before we go there, you have the option at this point to go back and go do any side quests that you want to do before you feel free to tackle the Emperor and go to that floating continent. And we are going to be doing some backtracking a little bit, and I will say up front, we are going to be doing some offline leveling. So before the start of the next video, I will throw this out there. No, by the way, floating continent, remember that? That just kind of lifted out of the ground. That's where it was. Yeah, it's totally gone. So before part 14, the next part of this challenge is posted. When it comes up, I'm going to show where we saved from, and I'm also going to show another screenshot of where we are going to be after we are through with the power leveling. So be aware, some leveling will be done offline, and we will continue on once I feel that we're up, prepared, ready to go with all the stats and GP. But that's for the next part. We're going to save, and we'll see you in part 14. Take care.